Right now, the United Kingdom's electric car market is quietly collapsing. Over 45,000 ex-lease electric vehicles are flooding onto dealership forecourts across the country. Values on some models have plummeted by up to 28% in a single year, and out-of-warranty battery replacement quotes are hitting a staggering £21,000. But the solution to this multi-billion-pound crisis isn't coming from the UK government, and it certainly isn't coming from European manufacturers. It is coming from a quiet, unprecedented surrender by the most reliable car brand on earth, a secret deal that could rewrite the rules of British motoring forever. For the practical UK driver, the transition to electric has slowly morphed into a financial minefield. If you look at what's actually happening on the ground, away from the glossy manufacturer adverts, the situation is genuinely alarming. We are seeing early adopters, people who simply wanted to do the right thing or avoid the expanding ULEZ charges, being brutally punished by the market. Market reporting from early 2026 reveals that popular early models, cars like the Nissan Leaf and the Tesla Model 3, have experienced value drops of up to 28%. You can now find early Tesla Model 3s, which originally cost almost £40,000, sitting on forecourts for as little as £12,000. That's not a typo. Imagine walking into a dealership, signing a PCP finance deal on a brand new electric family car, and 3 years later, discovering it's barely worth a third of what you paid. It traps drivers in severe negative equity. You want to trade it in, but you can't, because you have to find thousands of pounds out of pocket just to clear the outstanding finance. You are essentially paying off a rapidly depreciating asset that is bleeding value on your driveway. And if the battery actually fails out of warranty, the numbers become genuinely frightening. Industry data shows out-of-warranty EV battery replacements can range from £12,500 to £21,000. A £12,000 used electric car essentially becomes a paperweight if the battery drops below usable health. And honestly, this is the part that surprised me, because the people taking the biggest financial hit aren't even the ones who caused the problem. The strange thing about this used car crash is that private buyers are essentially paying the price for corporate tax loopholes. Let me explain how we got here. A few years ago, the government slashed the benefit-in-kind tax rate for fully electric company cars to just 4%. Naturally, every company car driver in Britain ordered an EV through salary sacrifice. It was an absolute no-brainer. But fast forward 3 or 4 years, and those lease deals are ending. Over 45,000 ex-lease electric vehicles are hitting the used market in waves. The supply is vastly outstripping demand. Dealership inventory data reveals vehicles are sitting for months, forcing forecourt managers to aggressively slash prices just to clear space. When a dealership cuts the price of their used stock by £3,000 or £4,000, it instantly drags down the resale value of every single privately owned EV in the country. Now, you'd think that would be the end of it. It isn't, because depreciation is only half the story. While these cars pile up on forecourts, another massive problem is brewing in the service bays out back. The traditional independent garage, the absolute backbone of UK motoring, the place you take your old diesel estate to get fixed for a fraction of the main dealer price, is starting to refuse electric vehicles. And they have a very good reason. Traditional EVs rely on NMC batteries, which stands for Nickel Manganese Cobalt. These battery packs are incredibly heavy, highly complex, and if their protective casing is compromised even slightly, they pose a severe thermal runaway fire risk. Independent garages are looking at the thousands of pounds required for specialized high-voltage training, the insulated tools, the quarantine zones required by health and safety, and the sheer liability of housing a volatile battery overnight. And they are simply walking away. They are saying no. What does that mean for you? It means you are forced right back into the main dealer network. And main dealer labor rates for EV specialists can easily exceed £150 an hour. This lack of independent repair options is having a catastrophic knock-on effect on the insurance industry, because underwriters know that a minor chassis scrape could compromise an NMC battery pack. They are writing off entire vehicles for minor cosmetic damage. Average UK EV insurance premiums have skyrocketed, often hitting £1,200 to £1,400, pushing standard family hatchbacks into insurance groups 40 and 45, alongside high-performance supercars. Comprehensive insurance for certain electric models is now up to 44% more expensive than for their exact petrol equivalents. Let that sink in. You buy an electric car to save money on petrol, but you lose £15,000 in depreciation, and your insurance premium premium triples because your local bloke won't touch it. It's a broken system. The industry desperately needs a vehicle that is cheap to buy, doesn't catch fire, and can actually be repaired without bankrupting the owner. European manufacturers have completely failed to deliver this. Brands like Volkswagen and Ford are pushing expensive models that suffer from the exact same depreciation and insurance trap. And this is where the story changes completely, because Toyota watched this entire chaotic, depreciating mess unfold. The world's largest and most trusted car maker realized that the electric vehicle market, in its current form, was a financial liability for their customers. For decades, Toyota has built its reputation on one single, unbreakable promise: reliability. If you buy a Toyota, it will start every morning, it will sail through its MOT, and it won't bankrupt you with unexpected repair bills. So, when the government began heavily pushing the electric transition, loyal British buyers naturally waited for Toyota to release their version of the EV. We all wanted the electric equivalent of a Corolla, something affordable, durable, and completely bulletproof. But when Toyota finally did step into the electric ring, they stumbled hard. They launched a car called the bZ4X. On paper, it was supposed to be the sensible, dependable electric family vehicle. In reality, it was a disaster. Very early on, the bZ4X was hit with a massive global recall because there was a genuine risk that the wheels could literally fall off while driving. Add in reports of disappointing winter range and software gremlins, and it became painfully clear that even the undisputed king of automotive manufacturing couldn't just magically build a cheap, flawless electric vehicle using traditional methods. The conventional recipe of stuffing heavy, volatile batteries into a chassis was failing them, just as it was failing the European brands. Now, most car makers in this position do what Volkswagen and Ford have done. They double down. They pour billions more into research, inflate the retail price of the cars to cover their losses, and pass the financial risk directly onto you, the consumer. But Toyota did something completely unthinkable. They looked at the exploding UK insurance premiums, the massive battery replacement cost, and their own struggling EV division, and they essentially admitted defeat. Toyota realized they could not win this war alone, so they quietly surrendered to their biggest rival. They formed a joint venture called BTET, BYD, Toyota EV Technology. For a proud Japanese manufacturer to officially partner with a Chinese battery giant to build its cars is the equivalent of Apple asking Samsung to build the iPhone. It is a massive, ego-swallowing shift, but Toyota did it because BYD had something they desperately needed: the Blade battery. To understand why this deal is about to completely upend the British car market, you have to understand why this specific battery is so revolutionary. Almost every European EV sitting on a UK forecourt right now uses an NMC battery, Nickel Manganese Cobalt. These are notoriously prone to thermal runaway. If an NMC battery gets pierced in a crash or suffers severe impact, it can ignite, burning at extreme temperatures and actually releasing its own oxygen. That makes the fire almost impossible for emergency services to extinguish quickly. This is exactly why your local independent garage doesn't want them anywhere near their workshop, and why insurance underwriters are charging well over $1,000 for a standard family hatchback. BYD threw that chemistry in the bin. Instead, they developed a lithium iron phosphate, or LFP, battery. This changes the entire equation. LFP batteries do not use expensive, highly volatile materials like cobalt or nickel. More importantly, they are inherently safe. When engineers deliberately drove a metal nail straight through the BYD Blade battery to simulate a catastrophic crash, it didn't catch fire. It didn't even smoke. Its surface temperature barely rose. Honestly, you seriously can't make this stuff up. Think about what that means for the practical British driver. If the battery cannot catch fire in a crash, the catastrophic risk that terrifies insurance underwriters suddenly vanishes. You are no longer treated like you're driving an unexploded bomb down the M1. If the high-voltage fire risk disappears, local independent garages can finally begin servicing these vehicles without needing a dedicated hazardous materials bay. The bloke down the road who's been servicing your diesel estate for the last 10 years can actually look at your EV without voiding his own business insurance. Suddenly, the monopoly of the 150 pounds an hour main dealer network is broken. That alone could save you thousands over a standard finance term. But it gets better, because an LFP battery isn't just safer, it is incredibly durable. BYD's Blade battery chemistry easily exceeds thousands of charging cycles with barely any degradation. When Toyota Toyota agreed to this partnership, they were aiming for unprecedented battery longevity, ensuring the power pack retains the vast majority of its original capacity even after 10 years of daily motoring. The power cell will likely outlast the chassis of the car itself. The sheer anxiety of driving a ticking financial time bomb vanishes. The days of worrying that your 8-year-old electric car is going to need a 15,000 pounds battery replacement just to get through its MOT are effectively over. And honestly, this is the part that surprised me most about the whole deal, because Toyota hasn't just bought a battery, they've built an entirely new car around it, and the price tag they've attached to it is absolutely terrifying for the European competition. The physical result of this secret surrender is a car called the Toyota BZ3, and when you look closely at what this car actually is, you realize exactly why the European automotive industry is absolutely terrified. On the outside, the BZ3 looks like a fairly standard, sleek family saloon. It was designed to slice through the air effortlessly, which helps it squeeze every last drop of efficiency out of the battery on a long motorway run. Inside, the cabin feels exactly like what you would expect from Toyota, logically laid out, solidly screwed together, and engineered to survive muddy boots, spilled coffee, and the daily grind of British family life. The seats are incredibly comfortable, and the driving position was specifically configured to reduce muscle fatigue on long journeys. It feels incredibly familiar, it feels safe, but underneath the floorboards, it is entirely Chinese. The powertrain, the electric control systems, and that all-important LFP blade battery were entirely developed and supplied by BYD. Toyota essentially built a brilliant, aerodynamic Japanese shell and dropped an indestructible Chinese powertrain right into the middle of it. This isn't just a collaboration, it's a masterclass in ruthless efficiency. By letting BYD handle the expensive, highly complex battery chemistry, Toyota saved themselves billions of pounds in research and development. And because the LFP battery is inherently cheaper to manufacture than the volatile NMC batteries the Europeans are using, the final production cost of the car dropped through the floor. When Toyota launched the BZ3 in China, they didn't price it like a premium luxury vehicle. They priced it for the working-class driver. It hit the market starting at the equivalent of just over 21,000 pounds. Let that sink in for a moment. Just over 20 grand for a brand new, ultra-reliable electric family saloon with over 350 miles of claimed range, powered by a battery that won't catch fire and is engineered to retain 90% of its health after a decade. And it comes with the peace of mind of a Toyota badge on the bonnet. Now, compare that to what you are being offered by the European legacy brands sitting on your local UK forecourt. If you walk into a Volkswagen or Ford dealership right now, what do you see? You see electric hatchbacks and SUVs that often start comfortably north of 35,000 pounds and easily push past 45,000 pounds if you want decent motorway range. These cars are built using the older, more volatile NMC batteries. They are heavier, they are vastly more expensive to insure because of the fire risk, and as we've already seen, they are bleeding value at a terrifying rate. European manufacturers are completely trapped in their own supply chains. They invested billions into NMC battery factories, and their unionized labor costs across Europe mean they simply cannot manufacture a car as cheaply as the Chinese. They are trying to sell you a depreciating 40,000-pound iPad on wheels, while Toyota is preparing to offer you a 25,000-pound bulletproof workhorse. And this is where the financial damage for European carmakers becomes enormous. Because what happens when this Toyota BYD pricing philosophy finally hits British shores? Even if you factor in the heavy import tariffs the government is desperately trying to slap on Chinese-made technology to protect local jobs, a car like the BZ3 would still massively undercut its European rivals. Imagine you are a practical, budget-conscious driver looking to finally make the switch to electric. You want to avoid the ULEZ expansion, but you refuse to be financially ruined by depreciation. On one side of the forecourt, you have a 3-year-old ex-lease European EV for 18,000 pounds. It's out of its original warranty. You know the battery is degrading, you know your local independent mechanic won't touch it, and your insurance quote is sitting at a painful 1,200 pounds because the underwriter is terrified of a thermal runaway fire. On the other side of the forecourt, you have a brand new Toyota, co-developed with BYD. Let's say it lands in the UK for 26,000 pounds after tariffs. It has 0 miles on the clock. It has an LFP battery that practically eliminates the fire risk, immediately dropping your insurance premium back into the realm of sanity. It is backed by Toyota's legendary legendary 10-year warranty network. And because the battery is designed to last a decade without severe degradation, the resale value is protected. Which one are you going to buy? It's not even a competition. British drivers don't want rolling supercomputers. They want a car that starts every morning, passes its MOT without a fuss, and holds its value when it's time to trade it in. The moment Toyota officially unleashes this Chinese-powered technology onto the UK market, the used value of those older, European NMC electric cars is going to collapse completely. If you think a 28% drop in value is bad now, wait until buyers realize they can get a brand new, indestructible Toyota for roughly the same price as a heavily used Volkswagen. And honestly, you can already see the panic setting in at the corporate level. European legacy automakers are terrified because they simply do not have the supply chains or the battery technology to fight this. They are stuck trying to recover the billions they spent developing volatile, expensive NMC batteries. Toyota bypassed all of that. They swallowed their pride, formed the BT joint venture with BYD, and essentially bought a shortcut to the finish line. But the real reason this strategy is going to dominate the United Kingdom comes down to one simple thing: the trust monopoly. You see, Chinese brands like BYD actually have the superior battery technology right now. That is a hard pill for European engineers to swallow, but the LFP blade battery proves it. However, what BYD and the other incoming Chinese brands do not have is the 50-year relationship with the British driver. They don't have the vast, sprawling network of established UK dealerships, the parts distribution centers, and the generation-spanning trust that makes a bloke in Yorkshire confidently hand over his hard-earned cash. Toyota has all of that. For decades, Toyota has been the undisputed king of reliability. They have the dealer network. They have the mechanics. They have the legendary 10-year warranty program that British buyers implicitly trust. By combining BYD's cheap, fireproof, long-lasting battery technology with Toyota's bulletproof dealership and warranty network, they have effectively solved the EV crisis for the everyday driver. What we are witnessing is the end of the chaotic first wave of electric vehicles. The cars that are currently piled up on dealership forecourts, depreciating wildly and terrifying insurance underwriters, were expensive experiments. They forced the British driver to take on all the financial risk of a developing technology. But this secret surrender by Toyota proves that the era of the disposable, high-risk EV is finally coming to an end. Reliability and affordability are taking over. The industry is being forced to pivot away from fragile, high-risk battery setups and move towards something that actually works for the working class. So, what does this mean for you, the practical British driver? It means that if you are currently looking to buy a used electric vehicle, you need to be incredibly careful. Buying a 3-year-old EV with an NMC battery right now means buying into the exact depreciation trap and insurance crisis we've just discussed. Unless you are leasing it and can simply hand the keys back when it breaks, the financial liability of a potential £15,000 battery replacement is entirely yours. The practical takeaway here is simple. If you want to buy an electric car that you actually intend to own, keep, and run into the ground just like your old diesel estate, wait. The LFP battery technology, wrapped in legacy Japanese reliability, is the only combination worth your money. The transition to electric motoring has been a multi-billion-pound financial disaster for thousands of British drivers. But Toyota's admission of defeat to Chinese battery tech might just be the greatest victory for the everyday motorist. Which of these details shocked you the most? Are you one of the thousands currently trapped in an EV depreciation nightmare? Or would you honestly trust a Toyota that is quietly powered by Chinese batteries? Let me know down in the comments. If you found this investigation useful, subscribe for more UK-focused automotive breakdowns and buying guides.